Hello and welcome to the Three Questions Podcast, where we dive deep into the world of wealth management and we connect you with industry experts. I'm your host, Wayne Baxter, Senior Executive Manager at One Capital Management. If you or someone close to you is turning 65 and feeling overwhelmed by Medicare choices, wondering how to protect your health and your wealth over the long haul, stay tuned. Our topic for this week's episode, the three questions high net worth families should ask before choosing their Medicare plan at age 65. Thank you for taking time to check us out. And if you enjoyed this episode of the Three Questions Podcast, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our podcast and YouTube channels. Joining me on the Three Questions Podcast is Nick Mangini. He is the founder of Medicare Sharks, a family-owned insurance agency based in Palm Beach County, Florida. Nick brings a unique blend of experience holding a business management degree and a master's in teaching. He was a standout collegiate baseball player. He was a coach, and that was before becoming a high school athletic director and educator. He then transitioned from that to a successful career in education and operations to then launching Medicare Sharks. And Medicare Shark specializes in personalized comparisons of Medicare Supplement or Medigap and Medicare Advantage plans. He serves clients nationwide across the country, and he provides free quotes and lifetime supports. Today, we're tackling the three questions high net worth families should ask before choosing their Medicare plan at age 65. Who better to have on than my friend Nick? Nick, great to have you on the podcast. Thank you for making yourself available.
Appreciate the opportunity to be here, talk to everyone, and whoever is watching this. We hope
And listening, watching and
yeah,
listening. Yeah, it's
watching and
great.
listening. Hopefully, you get some, good insight into Medicare and get some good education. And I'd love
Well,
to
that's
come
why
with
we
the
wanted to have
education
you
background.
here. That's why we want to
Absolutely.
hear, Nick. And I know you're going to agree with this that Medicare isn't just about health coverage, it's a critical piece of long term wealth preservation. And from your frontline views, and you are literally on the front line, helping families make these decisions. What trends or challenges are you seeing this year in the Medicare and Medigap space?
So this year has actually presented a lot of new challenges, a lot of new things that have happened. Of course, Medicare. Although I never like to get political on it regarding of whatever side or view anyone has, um, but it is a political situation because Medicare is part of our government. And of course, things are changing constantly. If one administration comes in, changes something that happened before, this stuff is always ever changing, and that's typically why we always have to stay up to date on everything that is happening. And these changes do happen very frequently. All of a sudden, every fall we always have our open enrollment time. So
Mhm.
that all of a sudden made a major change that happened, all of a sudden for January, but they change it even midstream as you're going through stuff. For instance, carriers have turned around and actually stopped agents like myself to even present and help clients even apply for certain policies.
Hmm.
Uh, One thing, especially on our side, they actually stopped providing commissions for some agents, for some policies for agents. And that kind of now pigeonholes agents. Of course, look, we're in the business to eat, but we also want to help our clients. Next thing you get some agents out there that don't have the best interest of their client, and they're just trying to position them into any plan that's going to just pay them. So that actually hurts the client. And the clients don't know this. They're just like, oh, yeah, next thing you know, I'm going to get this policy. So things like that are happening. A lot of other stuff, especially in the drug portion of it. Prescription drugs, the cost of prescription drugs is going through the roof. The current administration actually is trying to battle that. And they just came out with a whole new thing, the trumprx.gov. I personally think it's a good thing. But when I looked at it, a lot of the prescription drugs are half the cost on there. People don't even know about this. Maybe they hate, President Trump. That's, here nor there. but it actually did bring down some of the cost of those medications, like the GLP-1s and things like that. That is a huge topic. So things like that, the prescription drugs, the costs are absolutely crazy. And it's my job to really help clients figure that out and navigate it and come up with ways to save money. So those are some things that we're seeing currently.
And you say everything is fluid and always constantly changing.
Always changing.
Yeah, for high net worth families who already have, seven-figure retirement portfolios, in their 401ks or IRAs, they have an estate plan in place. Uh, how are these Medicare trends impacting the way they forecast long-term care health costs, or even integrate coverage decisions into their overall wealth management strategy? Where do you see the correlation there?
So it's funny. There's always two sides of the spectrum. You have your Medicare supplement, Medigap, and then you have your Medicare Advantage. Um, and it's kind of one of those things where people just think, oh, well, the Medigap, that's for wealthy people only and blah, 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 which, yes, you have to be able to afford a Medigap plan, but people don't realize the differences of them. And, yes, in a perfect world, in high net worth families, 100%, if you could afford a Medicare supplement, which most people realize that they can, regardless of however much they have. Doesn't matter. You could have a small nest egg, large nest egg. Medicare supplement plan is always the best carrier, best coverage because it actually basically eliminates all of your risk. And that's really what any financial advisor like yourself, I always talk to financial advisors all the time and I say, this is one piece of protecting someone's assets and net worth. And it's a large piece actually, because
Well, it can
any
be anyway,
cancer,
for sure. You never know
yeah,
what's going to happen with a person's health situation.
cancer diagnosis, next thing you know, you're on the hook for, a couple zeros and that you didn't expect. And that's just not even health stuff. That's just, t travel and lodging and pet care and loss of income and everything. All of that stuff comes into play. So, having Medicare and a supplement, regardless of whatever your net assets are, whether it's 1 million or 100 million, you still always want to make sure that you're protecting your assets, and having that Medicare supplement is the only way to protect that.
Excellent context, Nick. Thanks for that. Okay, let's get to the three questions high net worth families should ask before choosing their Medicare plan at age 65. Question number one: what are the biggest mistakes people make when they first enroll in Medicare at age 65? Nick, over to you.
So, as far as the biggest mistakes, and nobody loves to make mistakes, but the biggest mistake really is not speaking with an agent like myself who will be able to help navigate the waters of Medicare and figure out, how to go about this whole thing.
Trying to be a do-it-yourselfer, in other words.
Yeah, and you really can't, because at the end of the day, you always typically have to talk to an agent to help. But trying to go it alone doesn't really work, or even looking into these things. A lot of times people are looking on Google and AI and all this stuff. There's a lot of information out there, and it's also the accuracy of it you always have to watch out for. But number one thing really is not understanding the difference between a Medicare supplement and a Medicare Advantage plan. Because having, as I said before, having a Medicare supplement Medigap plan really is the only way to eliminate those out-of-pocket costs, and you have that financial protection. I always talk to wealth management, advisors and professionals all the time, and it's a small piece, but it's also a big piece of that financial portfolio in, producing or, preserving those assets. Because one cancer diagnosis can really set you off. There's a lot of zeros.
Lot of expenses on the,
A
capital
lot of
forecast.
expense.
Exactly, for
You
100%.
know, uh, as far as that Medicare supplement, it's the only way to eliminate it. Whereas if you get a Medicare Advantage plan, people don't realize on those plans, you can't see the doctors you want to. You can't go to the best cancer hospitals. MD Anderson, Sloan Kettering, Mayo Clinic, all those top hospitals don't even accept it I actually have even had a client from California who was trying to go to MD Anderson in Texas, and she realized on her Advantage plan they don't accept her. So people, you'll make that mistake by getting that Advantage plan, and then all of a sudden, a couple of years later, you find out you have a health issue, and you're like, "Whoa, I thought my, no cost plan. What happened? I thought this was great." So a lot of times I get those phone calls and I said, well, I wish we'd spoke at 65 because that's really the time where you can get that supplement. People don't realize that if you wait until you have something and you want to try to go get that supplement later on, oh, I'm healthy at 65. Why do I need it now when I can get it later? Well, the insurance companies know that. And at that point, that Medicare supplement plan, they can deny you from ever getting it. So you really want to not make that mistake of not getting that supplement plan at 65. So number one thing, get a Medicare supplement plan at 65 years old, and you never have to worry about it again.
For
Um,
for
as far as, go ahead.
no, you go ahead next. Sorry.
No, I was going to just mention that, the second piece of that is Medicare deadlines. A lot of times people don't realize that there's certain deadlines that have to be met. At 65, you only get 3 months before your 65th birthday to really enroll into Medicare, get that supplement plan in place, and have it start for the first of the month that you turn 65. So if you turn 65, say July 4th, well, your Medicare is set to start July 1st. And we have 3 months before that we got to get all the pieces of the puzzle in place, do those applications, help, get on Medicare, help the supplement, get the drug plan, and get that ready to go for, the first of that month. So deadlines is another thing because what happens is if you miss those deadlines, you could actually get penalties, which will last the rest of your life. And the government, it's like fighting, an uphill battle. You'll never win. So they will always impose those fines, and you will be paying that for the rest of your life. That gets, tacked on. Hey, even if you got a plan for 10, $30 or whatever for a drug plan, but now they just whacked on another 5, percent onto it. Nobody wants to pay extra for something that they're not getting. So you don't really want to miss those deadlines. Um, and then the other piece, as far as, going back to the supplement, you always want to make sure that when you're dealing with a broker or an agent like myself, that you're not just choosing on price. Those mistakes, people say, oh, well, why wouldn't I just get the cheapest plan out there? Well, the cheapest plan today doesn't mean that it's going to be the cheapest plan tomorrow. And it also can be even more expensive than the plan that was in the middle of the road. So you really always want to make sure that you're talking to a broker that has the experience like myself. I have over 25 years of experience within our agency. We have all 5 stars on Google, and we're a family-owned agency. So our business is working with families and keeping those families and retaining them so that they eventually will bring on all of their referrals and they send them to us. So yeah, a big mistake. Don't go it alone and definitely work with us.
And watch those dates. Okay, I got so many questions, Nick. This is crazy, but
I know.
I'm going to interject one additional one here.
Sure.
Um, for the birth date of, the 3 months before your 65th birthday.
Hmm.
So let's say you're someone who is not, I think this is going to be helpful for folks listening in here. I bet there's a few already thinking about this, but I'm going to be turning 65 in 3 months, but I'm still working. I still have a plan with my employer, and I don't plan on retiring for another fill in the blank number of years.
Right.
Does that apply to them, or is it only for those folks who are retiring that this matters? If they've got an employer-based plan already in place, does that deadline apply to them as well in any way?
So that's an interesting situation. A lot of times, especially today, we find that people are working longer into their years. They're not retiring before they turn 65. So
Hmm.
yeah, you'll get the person who, a client calls me up. Hey, I'm turning 65 in a couple months, but I'm still working and I have my employer group coverage. Well, that's great. But now I always look at, okay, well, hey, let's take a look at your employer group coverage and let's compare it to what you would get with Medicare and a supplement. And a lot of the times when we start to dive in and see, um, when the person has those employer group coverages, as far as deadlines, you can actually defer it. That's no big deal. You typically people will apply for Medicare Part A, and then you defer Part B. And then once you are ready to get Medicare, then you can get Part B. So you really wouldn't be imposed of any fines or penalties or anything as long as you actually have creditable coverage. Now, the scariest part is because you're dealing with the government, creditable coverage. Yeah, well, that now is like kind of a term where you're now allowing somebody to decide whether is it creditable coverage or not. And in the eyes of the government, they usually always want to win. So I always err on the side of, hey, if you have the opportunity to get Medicare at 65, get it. Forget about your employer coverage because a lot of times, like I was saying before, we compare both sides of the spectrum. A lot of times, Medicare with a supplement is better coverage and it's better coverage for the price. You can go to any doctor, any specialist, any hospital that you want to because there's no network. It's not even a PPO or an HMO. I know people say, oh, I got a PPO. I can go anywhere I want. That's not necessarily true, but in the eyes of Medicare, with a Medicare and a supplement, you can literally go anywhere you want to go because they all take Medicare. So I kind of always, go back and forth with the employer group plans, take a look at them, see what the numbers are, and if it's close, I always say get Medicare and a supplement. If it's like really like, oh wow, your plan is costing you 10,000 a year and Medicare and a supplement can cost you, 3,000 or 5,000 a year, well, that's an easy no-brainer. And then you have the ones that, well, my employer coverage, it's completely free. They're paying for everything. I said, well, that's great. It's tough to kind of, beat that with Medicare and a supplement. But do you also want to deal with this later on? Now, in some states with Medicare and those supplement plans, the supplement plan premiums are based off of age, gender, and zip code. So getting it at 65, you're actually setting yourself up for the long haul to have a lower premium for a longer longevity of time. Whereas if you get it at, say, 70, well, now, of course, the insurance companies have a higher premium on those. So now you're going to be automatically paying a higher premium. So I typically take a look at when we look at these processes, I look at the person being 65 and they have to last on this plan for, say, 20, 30, 40 years, however long you're living. Well, you want to really get the best plan at the lowest, or most competitive price and most stable uh, and have that last for the long time. So that's typically why, yeah, if you have an employer group plan, great. I still will always try to err on the side of getting Medicare and a supplement. You're not really going to have those impose those fines or penalties, especially if you work with myself. But I definitely say Medicare and a supplement is still the way to go. Even as good as you could have the best coverage. I even have people on government plans. I'm taking them out of those plans and getting them on Medicare.
Really interesting. You know what? I got a million questions. I don't think there's any possible way I'm going to be able to get through all of them on today's
I know.
podcast. I think we're going to have to move on to question number two. I had a whole bunch of follow-ups, but we'll be here until midnight. So
Sorry.
we'll just agree to go back to we're going to have you back on, Nick, because you just basically reaffirm myself. So again, our topic today is the three questions high net worth families should ask before choosing their Medicare plan at age 65. And joining me from Boynton Beach, Florida is Nick Mangini. He's the founder of Medicare Sharks. Medicare Sharks specializes in providing Medicare supplement or Medigap and Medicare Advantage plans. Okay, Nick, let's move on to question number two. Here we go. We're going to get into the weeds here a little bit. What is the difference between Medicare supplement and Medicare Advantage plans, and what factors matters most? Okay, this is right in your wheelhouse. Away you go.
So as I said before, number one thing to really take a look at, what is that difference between Medicare supplement Medigap versus that Advantage plan? So I'll kind of get a little deeper dive into how Medicare works. Most people don't realize that when you have Medicare, which is Medicare A and B, that's called original Medicare. They always love to confuse it and throw three different, words in and figure out what people can and cannot understand.
For the folks
But
listening in, why don't you just give the really quick 35,000 foot view of A and B, just to like the very high level here, just for everybody.
Medicare A and B is really as simple as Medicare Part A covers hospitalization, Medicare Part B covers doctors. Essentially, that's covering 80% of your bill. So, as simple as everything is covered 80%, we're trying to get that remaining 20% covered. So, instead of you having to pay for it, you get that Medicare supplement Medigap plan. It's
Okay.
basically covering that gap, that 20% gap, and all of your out-of-pocket expenses. So, it's really simple. Medicare covers 80%, the supplement covers 20%. Well, now you just covered 100% of all your bills, and you can go anywhere you want to go. Uh, no copays, no, small deductible, and that's it. You can walk into anywhere, get everything covered 100%. As far as a Medicare Advantage plan, which people don't realize, those plans are actually Medicare replacement. So what they typically do is Medicare becomes basically put onto a shelf and becomes the back seat, and they never even see or pay your bills when you have a Medicare Advantage plan. People don't realize this, that, they'll come up with, oh, I have this plan with X, carrier or that carrier, HMO, PPO, doesn't matter. Whatever Medicare Advantage plan those are, they will always overtake your Medicare. And now you are subject to their rules, their numbers, their copays, their co-insurance, their deductibles, max out of pocket, you name it. And now all of a sudden you find out that this no cost, low cost, no premium plan just turned into a huge bill and you have a max out of pocket of about $9,000. That's your risk. Whereas if you have Medicare and a supplement, you have basically no risk at all. You eliminate it all and you have 100% full coverage. So most people do not realize how that works, and they don't realize that there's a difference between them. Supplement plans are not Medicare Advantage plans, and vice versa. A Medicare supplement is the best way to go. You have Medicare and that supplement, and that's it.
Interesting.
It's the best.
All right. So for high net worth individuals who travel or want the maximum amount of provider flexibility, how do the out-of-pocket costs and network restrictions compare between the two environments in 2026? What would you say for the people who want the most flexibility or those who are traveling all over? How does that affect things? Would that change?
Yeah, so whether you're traveling within the states or even internationally, the only way to have coverage anywhere you go is to have Medicare and a supplement. Because a Medicare Advantage plan typically is just regionalized. Yeah, they might provide some out-of-network benefits, but now you're paying a higher cost for it. A lot of times they don't even really accept them in other states. I live in Florida. We have a lot of snowbirds. You got a lot of New Yorkers, California, coming from all over. They, spend 6 months here, 6 months there. Well, all those people, what do you think they have? A Medicare supplement plan because they can go in Florida, they can go to New York, California, wherever they go, wherever they're living, traveling, doesn't matter. And they can always get coverage, and any doctor is going to take them. So Medicare and the supplement is the only way to go for anyone that is ever traveling. And internationally, it'll even cover you up to $50,000 worth of your international foreign travel emergency bills. So within the first 60 days of travel, if you ended up in a hospital, say in Italy somewhere, well, they're going to try to fly you back to the US so that they can kick in on Medicare, but they will at least cover you up to $50,000 worth of your bills at 80%. So it's a fairly good little shot, even for international travel. Not if you're staying there, but on a quick trip, it's always good too.
So how should families weigh factors like prescription drug coverage, or additional benefits like, dental, vision against the overall premium stability of when their wealth plan already includes a strong emergency reserve? They've got capital on the side. How
Mhm.
how would they factor that in?
So, as far as those extras and those optional things as like dental and vision and stuff, Medicare doesn't cover that. So we always have optional additional plans, usually 50, $60. It's not earth-shattering, but it always helps. As far as prescription drugs,
That's isn't
um,
that plan isn't that Medicare Plan D? You'll have
yeah,
to
so that's actually Medicare Part D. There's
Part
always
D.
difference
Pardon
of
me. Excuse
words there,
me.
plans
My
and
bad.
parts. But yes, a Medicare Part D drug plan will always, basically be a part of having Medicare and that supplement. The Part D drug plans will cover your prescriptions. That's what they're, designed for. Side note, if you don't get one, that will be a penalty for you. So the government will always fine you if you don't have that Part D prescription drug plan. So you always want to make sure that you have one. Even if you don't have any drugs, get the cheapest drug plan. And at least then you're good. Most of the time they're free. There's no premium to a lot of those drug plans. So there's really no reason not to get one, but having that prescription drug plan will usually help offset a lot of those costs. Not everything is 100%, but there's also some other ways. We got GoodRx, you got the TrumpRx.gov. There's so many other pieces that we take a look at. You're going to love this, Wayne. I even tell some of my clients, buy your drugs from Canada because they could actually be cheaper and they're manufactured in Michigan or whatever, and they just bring them over to the border and bring them right back. So the funniest thing is, I'm telling people all the time, there's other ways to do this. Don't, just go, oh, this is it. I gotta spend, $500 for my GLP-1. Well, hey, there's other ways. And it's not even insurance. They're free. There's other ways. And if you talk with myself, I'm going to teach you all those ways. I'll help educate you about that. And that's where I add in that value for all of our clients to really
So,
figure
so
out.
you're acting as a quarterback and uh, in this whole process. So, and again, the great thing about you is that you work with clients all over the United States. You're not just limited to beautiful Florida. There, you can work with clients anywhere in the country.
Anywhere in the country. We're pretty
Or
much licensed in about 40 something states, 45 states. And if there's a state that I'm not licensed in, I'll always get a license and help you out.
perfect. Um, is there a scenario where one option will clearly align better with high net worth, longevity planning? Especially if someone anticipates needing, specialized or out-of-network care, is it always going to be the same answer, or can you see a scenario where maybe it's a toss-up, or you want?
Most of the time, I would say, uh, it's always a Medicare supplement. Now, as far as a supplement plan, a Medigap plan, there's typically two plans that we really focus the most on, and they're typically our top two plans, which is Plan G and Plan N. And a lot of times, depending on the zip code and the numbers and stuff, there's usually a significant difference in premiums between G's and N's. But as far as the coverage, they're really, really similar. You're talking a difference of no copays versus $20 copays. But the insurance companies say, well, hey, we want to at least offer an option where if you're willing to pick up, copays, well, then we'll lower your premium maybe by 75, $100 a month. Well, hey, $1,200 savings in some people's eyes, regardless of how much money you have, you're like, hey, if I don't really go to the doctor that often, $20 here and there, I'm okay with it. Most of the time, I always say get a plan G and never think about it. But if you're kind of price conscious, you can always go with a plan N. But either way, Medicare and a supplement is always the way to go, no matter how much money you have.
Nick Mangini joined us from Medicare Sharks. He is in Boynton Beach, Florida. Nick, great having you with us on the podcast. We're going to get to question number 3 on the Three Questions podcast. If someone is turning 65 and wants to make the smartest long-term Medicare decision, what should they be doing right now? Like, what is step one?
So, step one, what they should be doing is making sure that if they're, about to turn 65, we could actually start the process 6 months in advance. So, a lot of times the supplement carriers will allow us to even submit those applications with a requested start date 6 months out, and at least we check off one thing off the box. At that point, now I know, hey, you're a loyal client with us. Now we gain that relationship, and I'll say, hey, we're going to get you on the calendar another 3 more months. Now we're able to then sign you up and apply for Medicare at that point. So now you're not having to worry about, oh, do I have to remember 3 months before, 6 months before, this, that, whatever? When do I sign up? How do I sign up? All of those things, I will typically take care of it for you and with you at the same time. Some things I can't do myself, but once you're a client of ours, boom, we're going to get you on our calendar and we're going to make sure every step of the way we guide you through the entire process. So if you're about to turn 65 and say you're within 6 months or less, you should definitely be giving us a call. I can definitely help you out, regardless of whatever state you're in, regardless of whatever situation you have. Even if you're looking for just some free education to help out and kind of understand. And maybe you're like, hey, I'm still going to keep my employer coverage for the next 3, 4, 5 years, whatever. Fine. I want to really start to gain that relationship with you. And whenever you decide that you actually want to, you know, get on board and pull the trigger and let's go, well, I'm going to always be here to help out.
Hey, I've been thinking about this for almost since from the time we started, but I'm going to chip in on this question now. So in my space, and I just literally half hour ago was having a conversation with a colleague of mine about this, about the role of capital or wealth forecasting in the relationship of meeting with a new client or an existing client when it comes to trying to figure out, like, because most people when we meet with a new client or even an existing client, their most basic question is this: Are we going to be okay? That's the question everybody wants to
Right.
know. They're not asking me, wait, how much exposure are you giving us to international small cap investing? That's not really,
Right.
that's like asking how an iPhone is made almost, right? So in your view, from your standpoint, what role does that capital forecasting play in the decision of what type of plan to get when it comes down to Medicare costs and how, I look at it from the standpoint of how were we drawing money down to pay for it and all of that. So in your view, how important is it to do the capital forecasting in events like, say, you mentioned the 6 months down the road before you had to apply? Is that the time you start doing the capital forecasting to figure out all the expenses in advance? And can we use that as some kind of a reliable benchmark going forward?
Yeah, so obviously as the wealth professional and wealth management advisor, you're gonna obviously know what each of your clients' situations financially are, and you'll say, hey, we have this amount in your nest egg, and we're obviously trying to continue to still grow that, but you also don't want to lose it, and you also don't want to overpay for something. But yeah, that forecast you kind of always want to know, and that's why, we work together and take a look at, hey, this is what it's going to cost you for Medicare. This is what it's going to cost you for your supplement. You know exactly what you're basically paying. Of course, there's going to be some increases along the way, 5%, 10%, 20% some years. We just had some crazy increases this year. But, for the most part, you kind of know, hey, a couple $100 a month, it's going to cost me for my supplement. $200 or so for Medicare. So say about, 600, 600 a month, and all your bills are paid for. You're eliminating all of your risk. You're eliminating all of your out-of-pocket responsibility. So, as a professional, dealing with their finances, well, you're going to love that because you're going to say, hey, 6 grand. All right, check that off. We know every year you're going to be somewhere around there, and now we can work with that. And then, something gets crazy. We got to make a change. Oh, next thing you know, went from 6 to 8 grand. Could happen, depends. We could always change it. We could always take a look, reshop things. We don't necessarily reshop it all the time. I'm a big believer in set it, forget it, and never think about it. But there's times that we'll reshop some things just to see. But for the most part, yeah, you kind of know it's really stable. I like to really stick with the most stable carrier, stable rates. I have one carrier that I can always say, hands down, is really the best carrier. I don't really want to name names right now, but they're typically known for keeping their rates as stable as possible, and that's usually our number one go-to. And most of the time, our clients typically will agree with the same thing. So.
So based on everything we've covered here, we've covered a lot today, and I know we could have extended this podcast out for another hour. What's one actionable item that a family that's turning 65, an individual turning 65 this month? What's one that they could take right now to avoid the biggest, Medicare pitfalls and align their plan with their overall wealth management goals? If there's one thing they would do this month, what would you say it would be?
One thing really is to really educate yourself. Know where the information is coming from. Obviously, we have Google and ChatGPT and AI. It's funny, I actually just got off a phone call with somebody who's turning 65 in July. I said, "Hey, how'd you find us?" "Oh, I was just on ChatGPT and I started Googling around, and ChatGPT told me I should get Humana Plan G and a Humana drug plan and blah blah blah." And I said, "Well, that's great. At least you have some education of what you're looking for." Because my first question whenever I speak with a new client, I say, "Well, are you looking for a supplement or are you looking for an advantage?" And right off the bat, at that point, I know if they've done their homework or not, because if they can't tell the difference or don't even know what I'm even talking about, well, now I have to help
You're
educate with a
starting.
little
You're starting with
Medicare.
plan. You're starting at
I'm
scratch.
at zero. I'm on Medicare 101, which is
Right.
fine because I like to keep it really simple with clients. But really, what people should be doing is educating themselves. But look, I'm gonna talk about myself. Give us a call. We've been doing this a long time. I can definitely say if you call us, you're gonna be happy. You're gonna be excited about getting your Medicare plan because you're gonna know, hey, I'm covered. I never have to worry about anything. And then if I ever need anything moving forward, we provide lifetime client service and it's completely free. Uh, our services are always free. So you're not paying more to work with myself. You're not paying a fee to work with myself. It's completely free. We help you on your plan. You have my personal cell phone and you can call me anytime. We become best friends. And
Well,
I love
but
that.
okay, so that's a perfect segue because if for those who are watching, we've actually got all of your contact information right on the screen. But I know right now we have people who are listening on either Apple or Spotify, and for those who can't see your contact information, could you share with us the best way to be you can be reached? How can people contact you?
So best way to reach us, I made it really simple. Love, our website. I designed it myself. So if you go to medicaresharks.com, that's Medicare Sharks, plural.com. Uh, a ton of information on there. I'm obviously, as you said before, former educator, coach, teacher, and I like to educate. So there's a lot of great material on there that I personally put on there, and we're constantly updating it. So if you go to medicaresharks.com, check out a lot of information on there. My number will also pop up with my face. But if you're looking for my number, it's 561 90 Shark. That's 561 90 Shark. Numbers wise, that's 561 907 4275. And you could even send us an email, or if you want to go on the contact us form right on our website, that's perfect. Our email, really simple, Medicare at medicaresharks.com. So there's
Perfect.
tons of way to reach me and reach us. Most of the time, I'm the one that's answering the phones, answering the emails. Or, as I said before, we're a family-owned agency. So I have actually my mother who she's on Medicare, comes out with a lot of information personally with Medicare for her own clients and stuff, which is great, has a lot of experience. My wife as well. Yeah,
So
anything
legit family
we can do to help.
business. Nick,
Yes.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much. We're definitely going to have you back on because I'm left with a lot of questions. Didn't get through them all. So I want to thank you. Nick Mangini, he joined us today from Boynton Beach, Florida. I almost said Boynton Beach, California. Boynton Beach,
Yeah.
Florida. And he is the founder of Medicare Sharks. And Medicare Sharks specializes in providing Medicare supplement and Medicare Advantage plans. Nick, thanks a lot and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you. Absolutely. Enjoy.
I look forward to bringing you the Three Questions podcast, and I hope you find them educational and informative. Please consider liking this video and subscribing to our podcast and YouTube channels. And to receive a notification when our latest episode has been posted, please click on a notifications bell. Lastly, to schedule an online Zoom consultation with me to discuss your wealth management needs, please click on the link in the description box below, www.onecapital.com/meet with Wayne. Thank you, and we will see you soon.